Welcome back to the Paving America podcast. This is Hayden Cortez, part of Pave America team. We got Zach Milewski, who's my co-host, and we have two very special guests with us today. We have Mike Johns and Lonnie Banks with Cincinnati Asphalt. How are you, fellas?
Good. Doing good, man.
Awesome. Well, thanks for jumping on. I know we were talking a little bit about, if you guys ever done a podcast before. For some people, it's pretty intimidating, but I know you guys are sales guys by nature, so hopefully it's just like, riding a bike.
Sales and asphalt will make it easy.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Easy to talk about.
We do have very different sales techniques, though. I will tell you that.
Do you?
Do you?
Yeah. Right.
So do Hayden and I.
Yep, we do.
Yeah.
So, and that's the beauty of sales, right? Is everyone gets their own little twist, and that's what truly differentiates themselves. So, let's start with Lonnie. One of my favorite questions to ask is, how the heck did you get into this crazy industry?
So I've been with Cincinnati Asphalt. It'll be 11 years in February. But in all honesty, I had no intention of doing anything construction related. I started dating my wife, started going to church with her, and met a guy named Joe Madden, and became friends with him. And he was looking for a residential asphalt salesman. I was actually a patient escorter at Cincinnati Children's Hospital.
Wow.
So I was wheeling kids around, and was getting ready to go back and be a nurse. I was going to go to nursing school. And he just kind of one day was like, "Hey, man, I need somebody to do residential asphalt sales. I think you'd be good at it." I'm like, "Man, I don't know." I don't know anything about blacktop other than it smells funny. And everything I hear about the construction industry is, I don't know. I think I'm out. So we went back and forth for a little while. Eventually, he made me an offer where it was like, man, I'd be silly not to try it. Yeah. And so jumped in and hit the ground running. First year, just kind of really spent a lot of time around the crews, learning how everything works, the production side of things, and getting my feet wet on smaller projects. By year 2, kind of took on some smaller patching and seal coating work. Year 3, it was kind of full bore, I guess you could say. I was jumping into all the parking lots, things like that, learning how to read blueprints, and those types of things. And then as kind of time developed and the company grew, my position changed. I was still doing sales and estimating, but at the same time, I was helping, with the logistical side of things and operations. I was setting up trucks, getting the crews where they needed to be, doing those types of things. Eventually fell into kind of some HR type stuff, doing some hiring and firing and all the, the things that entails. Yeah. And then kind of kept that role up until the point where we joined Pave America, and was able to really kind of focus on the stuff that I enjoy doing, which is selling and estimating. So.
Wow,
that's crazy.
That is crazy, man. He must have seen something in you pretty early for him to want to bring you out of, the industry that you were in and bring you over here. It's crazy. Sometimes, like leaders, they'll see that in certain people, and then like, man, this guy's got something, and then here you are.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things. It was really funny when I first got into the industry and started having some success, started winning some jobs, and you go to different bid openings and things like that. I think Mike mentioned we used to be competitors. There was a rumor that was running around at one point that Joey had hired like a doctor, and so I used to always joke with people like, "Yeah, I was a heart surgeon," but in reality, I was just pushing people around, man, getting to their appointments. But I've always been a pretty personable person, and when you're dealing with kids like that, one of the things Joey used to always say is like, when you're dealing with kids and families in their lowest moment, selling asphalt to somebody who needs something, it pales in comparison. So,
right.
It can be tough, dealing with people on a daily basis, but I've seen much, much worse than a cracked parking lot. So.
Good for you.
100%. Yeah, it puts things in a little bit of perspective for you. So
sure. Let's
shift over to Mike, man. What's your story? How'd you get in?
So I was actually a college football coach right out of college. Played football in Miami, Ohio. Had no clue what I wanted to do after college. Full transparency, I grew up in the south side of Chicago. Most of my buddies' friends' parents were either teachers, nurses, firefighters, cops, or in the unions there in terms of construction. So I truly just went to college to play football. So graduating college, I was a GA at a small school in South Dakota called Black Hills State. Then I went over to Butler as their defensive line coach. I was barely able to pay my bills, let's just put it that way, when you start off in coaching. And I had a buddy who actually worked at Rose Paving in Chicago. It's originally where I'm from. And he's like, "Hey, man, It's super structured over here. Like we have certain timelines. You're going to get a salary, company truck, a cell phone. And like at that time, the number they told me was like life changing for me. And the one thing about me that was like really, opportunistic about me going into construction and the paving world is I crave structure. So like being in college, having early workout times and having to be places and have certain deadlines and able to hit marks was something I was looking to get into. And it was actually a pretty seamless transition. I mean, we usually start here about 6:30 in the morning. Our crews get here, like we're all here. Like it just seamlessly blends into like the lifestyle that I need for me to thrive in. So just having that structured environment and then just understanding the processes, gaining the understanding of the work, and then being able to implement those, it began to feel like coaching because then I also run our line striping division too and some of our maintenance items. So like I have guys under me. So it felt like a brotherhood again, basically, because I was able to lead guys, instruct them, work with them together, get my hands dirty. It essentially feels like you're on a team again because you're working with individuals from all different lives, just like football. And you got to come together to a certain goal to deliver a quality product. So I just kind of fell into it, but I was also looking for that structure.
Right. So it was probably a smoother transition for you. And you hear, we've been seeing a lot of data and insight with that on, former athletes coming into this industry. And I think even in your position, a little bit of sales aspect to it. Sounds like you got some operational aspect to it, but it's highly competitive, right? So that just kind of fits in your nature, along with the structure. As much as we try to plan and have all the appropriate processes. Stuff happens, so you got to pivot. But for the most part, we're following the same thing all the way through from when you're scoping a job to sending the final invoice. So
and the beauty of what you're saying in that same aspect is we're really good at fire drills here. Like we don't freak out when stuff starts going sideways. So it's just like, when you're in a game, you have to make in-game adjustments. You have to calm people. You have to, because the more you freak out, the worse that like a change order may get, or like there's an accident on a job site it's going to get. It's being able to step back and say, hey, like we need to come together right now and figure this out. And like that is just so appetizing in this industry because just about every day there's something where you're like, hey, we got to figure this out now.
Dude, I couldn't agree with you more. I think like Hayden and I, we relate a lot and kind of go back to like this is the team foundation. We're both big sports guys too, so it's like knowing your role, what you're doing is affecting others around you, and then how carrying your weight from like the lowest person on the totem pole all the way up to the top. Like it's total teamwork across the board, and like if coach has to make a different decision, you guys are going to run a different offense, different play, you got to be able to make adjustments on the fly. And I think like that is a testament to how you stay successful in this industry for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think it's we, like you talked about the firefighting, obviously we use that term around our industry for sure because it's problems, it's putting the hose to the immediate stuff that you can have the best plan in the world. You can do hours and hours of pre-construction planning, and something that you can't control happens. And there's a lot of logistics that come with our business. So being able to pivot is key. I think not only operationally, but in sales as well, because you're definitely involved on that side. So let's talk a little bit about Cincinnati Asphalt too. The history. Lonnie, you've been with them for quite a while. Give the viewers a little bit of background about Cincinnati Asphalt, what kind of work you guys do, what you guys' bread and butter is.
Sure. So I've been with the company for about 11 years. I think they were in business for about 3 or 4 years before I started. When I came in, we were doing, $3, maybe $4 million worth of work a year, kind of right on that cusp of, not big enough to really be big, but, small enough to not be, or medium-sized enough to not be small. So it was kind of the perfect storm for me, being able to get in and learn. So that's what made my transition so easy. But then as that first year kind of progressed, we started getting into some of the bigger box store type stuff. So we started doing a lot of work with blows. I think my second and third year here, we did 6 or 7 of those. And that was really where we got our feet wet on the big stuff. At that point, we had a customer roll in that had 85 KFCs and Taco Bells. And so we started running with them, which, getting your name out there helped a lot, right? And so as people see you and you're traveling to all those different locations, you just kind of started to see the company grow. And so from there on, it just kind of skyrocketed into what we are today. I mean, we specialize in asphalt milling, asphalt paving, asphalt maintenance. We can do stabilization, we do site work, we do concrete. One of the things that we always talk about in the office as a sales team and just as an organization as a whole is we want the jobs that nobody else wants. And not necessarily from a standpoint of, man, that job stinks, but people don't want it because it looks like it's hard. We specialize in those types of things, right? And so selling that to our customer, letting them know that, hey, going back to the KFC guy, he used to have a line, he said, there's one throat to choke. And we use that. It's like, hey, we're going to take care of you from start to finish. And we specialize in everything. Are we better in some aspects than maybe some? Yeah, probably. I think if anybody's honest, they would tell you that. But as a whole and as a company, we specialize in a lot of different things. We'll do sports courts, we'll do a concrete parking lot, asphalt parking lot. You want to put gravel down, we'll put gravel down. You need drainage, we'll do drainage. And our sales team does a good job of selling each aspect of that. I think, when you look across the platform of jobs that Mike, myself, and the other guys in the office that we're selling, it's always a bundle of something. It's never just one piece. It's always, hey, yeah, your parking lot needs milled and paved, but in order to give you the longevity, this is what you need to get to longevity, whether it be under drains or catch basins, or hey, we got to fix a couple pieces of concrete to make this work. And so as a whole and as a company, we've really grown through being able to do multiple facets of things, if that makes sense.
What do you think your bread and butter would be, I guess, when it comes to services? Like, are you, bread and butter and then size type of project? Is it like mill and overlay? Is it, heavy maintenance work?
Honestly, it's kind of interesting, just like looking through the statistical data that we kind of archived, is our bread and butter is anything that we perform between a $60,000 to an $80,000 job is what we want to go after. Yeah. So yes, we have some bigger capital projects, but what we found in terms of if we can stay in that little area is not only do we perform those jobs at a high level, but we can also operate at a higher margin in those aspects. So we kind of, you guys have talked like what's our niche, so we're really good at saying no. So a lot of people in the sales get frustrated, like we bring new sales guys on or people get transitioned to sales roles. And I'll kind of explain how we do that here in a second. But we always tell our guys, like, hey, it's okay to tell a customer we're not doing that, or, we're not going to stand behind that, or we don't suggest that. And when we talked about different sales approach, I'm notorious for being bullish and saying no to a point where, like, I will walk off of a pre-bid because I want to agree with the scope. And like, some people are like, that's crazy. Well, I'll get a phone call 2 days later. How would you guys develop this job, and how can you guys give us a value add to this job? And we win a lot of jobs by back engineering and engineered plans and giving somebody a different product. Because in a 60 to 80K job, what we've realized is usually we can get in and out of there in 2 to 3 days versus a capital project that maybe only has a 10% margin on it that could eat up a whole month. So when we go after those targeted projects, it's just a better feeling for us because our guys know there's always something different coming, which breaks up the monotony of our industry. Because when it comes down to it, paving a parking lot or ripping out concrete, it's the same every day. It's just different shapes. So if we can give our guys, an advantage of moving around, doing different things, not only are our crews happier, we're hitting our margins, we're able to sell more proficiently too, because we're not really diving into huge projects all the time.
Yeah, I think that's one dynamic too that's a little bit different than maybe some of the other even Pave America platforms. Like, we don't just sell, right? Like, we're in sales and estimating, but we also project manage. And so in that niche and in that range that he's talking about, it gives us the flexibility to both manage our jobs, but also still stay in front of multiple customers a week, which keeps everything running and moving the way that it should. We've got the longer duration ones, but those take a toll on you when you're trying to order all the different materials and get everything moving and shaking and communicating with the customers. So that niche there is clutch for everybody. Kind of going back, I think, Zach, to what you were talking about, knowing your job and how it affects everybody. When you're able to stay in that lane and you know what you're good at, it allows you to just keep going and moving at a high clip.
Totally. It's interesting that you say that. I think we've done the same thing, like we've ran that play before, and then we've bounced things around, and it's always like finding like what your rhythm is and what suits your team the best. And if that's where everybody's like most comfortable and where everybody's most effective, then that is awesome. One thing that I really like is like, you know, you guys do that. We run things a little bit differently. I know there's companies that run kind of like a hybrid of that as well within the platform. And I really enjoy that. Like you talk about one throat to choke, right? You've got a company like Pave America who's a monster. Like easily the largest pavement maintenance company in the country. And one throat to choke, you got companies like us right underneath them that are all running and firing at such high levels, but also still allowing us to run the play that suits our market the way we need to do it without micromanaging it the way you see a lot of other people along the way. And just, I think that's one of the differentiators, I think, for us, like probably you guys, us as a platform, as a whole, which has been really, really refreshing for us, I think, too. Just, you know, the versatility that we get to have amongst our teams and, you know, how we execute on a day-to-day basis is pretty sweet.
Yeah, you don't, it's never a one-size-fits-all approach across the 35, 40 offices that we have. Because it's, the fact of the matter is we know that it can't be that. There's so many different market dynamics, stuff that you can't even pull out off the top of your head that's maybe underlying, that's just like a known thing with internally that really affect how you structure your team and your processes. And so, that is the beauty of it, is there's some corporate stuff we got to follow and structure we have to follow on the big scheme of things, but at the end of the day, the day-to-day, the way we run the business is truly up to the individual subsidiaries. So that flexibility is awesome for sure.
Yeah, and kind of going off that too. So like the thing that's probably different than us, I'm not sure how a lot of the Pave America companies truly operate. Like we try to stay in our lane and worry about ourselves, to be honest with you. But we really push our sales guys to understand the field. So like I'm very versed in maintenance. Like I actually was leading the seal coat crews and the line striping, teaching the guys how to do it. I'd go seal with them, I'll stripe with them and do all the work. Lonnie jumps on the crews. Tyler, our sales rep, was actually used to be on our pave crew. Kyle came from our commercial side down in Kentucky where he used to be a foreman down there. So a lot of our guys actually can hop in on machines and help in with the guys when we're shorthand or something's going sideways. So when we talk about a fire drill, to help mitigate the issue, because we truly get to be a part of our crews then. And it's something that in our office, that for us to feel comfortable with you being in sales, like you actually have to understand how to perform the work to sell the work.
Yeah, 100%. How would you say that translates from, bringing somebody in from the field to the actual estimating side, which is more of a production calculation? What's your analysis of that, Lonnie? How
so Tyler
or hinder?
So Tyler, that's in our office, I actually hired him as one of our field guys, and he started off just shoveling and raking and learning how to run equipment, and he got hurt. His back was hurt. I think he hurt it actually playing football in high school. So he came in over the winter and was going to work with us part-time. But you just kind of naturally with him got the idea that he had something in him he was going to be successful. He had the personality. He had a lot of the same kind of qualities and traits in personal life that I had growing up that I think kind of make me effective. And so he came in, and really the transition was smooth in terms of how to price things and how to do the actual estimating part, because he had the production down. He knew, okay, hey, this is how many tons you can put down in a day. This is what it takes to get around the islands. This is what it takes to do this, this, and this. And so when he sat down to build his bids, he already knew what the guys in the field were looking for. And so it makes it really, really easy, especially now, moving forward and being the kind of the ever evolving snowball that we are going downhill, for those guys to get all their work orders, to get all the things that they need on a day-to-day basis when you have guys that know what they're doing. And so the transition for Tyler really was just learning how to sell, learning how to talk to people, learning how to communicate, learning that everybody has a different personality, right? I think sometimes as sales reps, you want to be yourself, but you have to be able to adapt and talk to everybody. And so that's a learning curve. So I'd say probably the first year and a half that Tyler came in, that's really what he was working on. But in terms of the actual estimating and putting things together and how things should operate and move, it made things so much smoother. And you see that correlate throughout our entire office because we've all been there and we've all done that.
Yeah, we don't call our jobs bidding jobs here. So our operations manager, Chris Milewski, is a very, very operationally minded individual. He hates the word sales, actually. Like, doesn't say it. We build our jobs when we're bidding. Yeah. So when we're literally building a job, we sit down and we're like, okay, what if the plant breaks down? How far is it? What's trucking been like? What's the weather been like? Let's actually build this job. So when our guys get to the job site, we have a little bit of cushion in there for variances.
Yep.
You know, Hayden, when you mentioned, like, is there a little bit of a struggle with the field guys or some of us guys who are more field oriented? We bid a little too aggressively at times. So we'll have to tell guys like, hey, we know that we can do it that way, and we know that you know how to do it that way, but you're not always going to be there. So when you're building the job, put in a little what if factor in your jobs, because just about every job, either the plant's going to be backed up, there might be a traffic accident, you might have a guy calling sick that day, a customer might not have cars moved. No day truly runs flawlessly. So when we have some of those field guys in there that come into sales positions, they understand that part too. So we're able to kind of mitigate some of the issues up front and build the job versus just bidding it, because, you know, you get a sales guy in here, you know, like all flashy, wearing a nice watch, can talk and sell stuff, but doesn't necessarily know how to do the work aspect, is when we see our guys get into a pickle on a job because like it was bid too tight and they didn't think of the what if factors.
Yep. And for me, it's not even the what if, it's the when, right?
Yeah.
It happens every single day, and that's exactly how we approach our estimating as well. You know, there's time and a place where we can be extremely tight and dialed in, and we kind of have to, but there's also, for most of our jobs that we're looking at, we are factoring in that what if or that when factor, because there's so many variables that come to it. So
we are too. You know, it's interesting that you say that, Hayden, too. Like, even on the jobs that we're getting really aggressive on, like there's like, you know, we factor in production. There's something on trucking, or there's these little things along the way that, you know, we almost keep in as a buffer. You kind of just have to. It feels weird to take them out. And so on the backside, when you're able to create it and build it, you know, then we're in good shape. And, you know, for the most part, guys are, you know.
Yeah, I think even from where I came from, I mean, I didn't originally start in the field, right? So my transition was different, but I spent time in the field. And I always tell people the biggest compliment that I got was from one of our paver operators back in the day. He told the old owner, he's like, Lonnie's the only project manager or estimator I've ever worked with that has come out and he's asked me why I'm doing something instead of telling me what to do. And the whole logic behind that is going directly to the root of what we're talking about. It's like, hey, if I'm going to bid it and I'm going to be effective in doing it and selling it to my customer and giving them exactly what they need, I want to know why you're doing what you're doing. I could care less what I'm telling you to do, right? So there's definitely a benefit to having an idea of what's going on.
Yeah, I'm just learning from those guys too, who have been doing it for so long. You know, talking about, you know, how the screed moves, and I mean, all these technical paving terms. Same thing with you. I relate to you a lot, Lonnie. Just, I did not come from the field, but when I first joined National Pavement Partners, that was my trial by fire, was to go out and project manage, as Zach told me, which was essentially throw me out there and figure it out for myself.
Yeah.
So, but I going back, I wouldn't have changed that for the world, because you learn so much just being boots on the ground, and it is that kind of, you have to pay that, as I call it, the tax to learn all that. That's your education part of it, which translates directly into being the best salesman. Like the communication stuff, the sales tactics, whatever, production rates, those can all be taught. But the actual knowledge and the experience of being out there and seeing what truly happens in the field, that just takes time. So I love that.
Yeah.
How would you say, you know, being part of the Pave America platform, we got, you know, a couple hundred true sales people within the platform. You know, how would you say being part of like these sales meetings and stuff like that, where we're collaborating with other subsidiaries, how has that opened your eyes to maybe new opportunities or new ways of estimating and viewing things?
I think that we kind of pick and choose. You know, I'm not sitting here and saying that what we have is a successful recipe, but I mean, if you look at our data and what we've done and how we've grown year after year, like we're pretty dialed in on what we do. So, and we kind of stay quiet for the most part when we're on those sales calls. You know, we may chime in, but we really feel less is more. So like we really try to bare bones things and try to not implement a ton of different ideas and technologies unless it really truly suits one of our niches or needs. Because we found that when we pile things on our sales guys, we try to do a bunch of things. Like there's some great suggestions on that, don't get me wrong. Like putting the proposal image on there, we've gotten great feedback from that already. You know, some of the different instances about how to, you know, do follow-ups, great pieces of advice. But as we keep circling back, it's all about the individual personality of the sales rep and how they can make the connection. So like we really try to see if, like, you know, speaking with Hayden and Zach right now, just having the same call and just having this demeanor with us, there's little things that we're gonna be able to pick up from this conversation that you guys might not notice that'll help us sell. So we try to pick and choose little things, and I know that's a very broad answer, but we don't just like take every suggestion and run with it. We try to kind of piece it out together, do a little test pilot of it, see if it works, and then we'll give good feedback to Pave America if it works. But if it's something that we've already done, we kind of just stay silent, because a lot of the factors that we do on the sales call, I keep relating back to Chris Milewski, our sales manager. He's also our PaveSoft guru. Every single time after the PaveSoft guru call ends, we have a meeting. And we talk about what that call was about and what we need to implement to stay on brand with Pave America.
Yeah, I think as a whole, you know, I've been through multiple changes being part of the Pave America platform as opposed to what we were. But I think one of the things that's been good about it and the calls and being able to network with so many different people across the country is it drives you to be better, right? And so, yeah, you're hearing all the different ideas and the little things that Mike's talking about that you're like, hey, if we implement that, we might be able to gain a little bit more success here or a little bit more success there. But I think truly and genuinely about all of the stuff that Pave America is implementing and wants to implement, we were already doing or we wanted to do. And so really just having the backing and the support and the ability to be able to do it, but also have people to bounce it off of makes a world of difference, right? Yeah. And so, you know, Jeff, our president, Chris, that Mike has mentioned several times, they've got years and years and years of experience. Mike and I are fairly young. I'm 38, 37?
36.
Okay, yeah, but a little younger than I thought. But you know, we've got newer ideas, and there's things that we want to do that maybe they're like, I don't know if that'll work. You know, like as simple as putting our picture on a business card as opposed to just a plain boring business card, or little things like that.
Doing a podcast,
and the idea of getting those things out there and communicating. You know, everybody laughs when they're like, oh, you guys are going to go do that, and we get the Joe Rogan jokes and all the different things like that. But it's like, no, these are things that help us, you know, connect with customers, but also other people in the industry that need the help. And I think as a whole, the platform has been great, and I've enjoyed it. I mean, yeah, there's some things that you have to adapt to, like you were saying, Hayden, with the overall corporate structure. But as long as you are giving them what they need, you do have the freedom to try new things and bounce ideas off of people. I know you and I have talked in person about different things that we do, and I think as a whole, it's been great, really.
Yeah, and then just building off of what Lonnie said too, just with the implementation of Pave America, someone's always watching besides just who works in our office. Like, let's be real. So we have an underlying joke of let's stay off the list. So, you know, like you can see your goals that you have to hit each month, whether it's your bids, your sales amount, your target margins. You can stay on those good lists, but don't fall on those bad lists, because that's when people start reaching out. So if we're not hearing anything, you know, maybe from the Pave America side, we take that as good news, because, hey, we're not under a microscope. That's why we have the meetings after we do the PaveSoft guru, because Chris then puts a list together and says, stay off this list. Like, we don't want to have people, you know, as a bad word would be micromanaging us, because there are some companies within our group, without saying this in a poor manner, that do need to get up to speed. We always want to be ahead of the curve.
Right.
Yeah, I think that kind of goes back to the whole idea of it just makes you want to be better. And anytime that you have a platform that's driving you to do that, ultimately your customer is going to be the benefactor. And so that's been a big sales pitch for us is, hey, yeah, you know, because there's this negative connotation of, well, you were purchased by, you know, this person or that person.
Private equity.
Yeah. And it's like, yeah, we were, but I'm still Lonnie that was here 11 years ago. Yeah. My phone number hasn't changed. When you call me at that number, I'm going to pick up and I'm going to be able to help you and give you what you need. But probably even more effectively, because I have the backing and the support of hundreds of people that want to make sure you get what you need. And so it's just been good.
You might be able to, you know, talk, and they might be able to hear you a little bit better, because you now have the newest iPhone or something like that.
Right.
There's a lot of good resources and support that we noticed right off the bat of joining the platform when, you kind of don't know what to expect, but it was very evident when, it was time to transition over the resources and the support that we were going to get and the amount of impact. And, Zach and I talk about this a lot, like taking big risks, which we're like you guys. We want to take risks. We want to try new things, be ahead of the curve. You can only do so much risk. You can only take on so much risk up to a certain point when you are just owned, when Zach was the sole owner. But now that we have partners, like, it makes such a big difference. And so that's why we did the crazy and launched 2 new markets, Arizona and New Mexico last year. And so we would have not done that.
Yeah, now going off your point.
Probably not. Probably not.
That's the same point going into the group. I came on in 2022. Joe Matt actually hired me. And when I came on as the VP of maintenance, but I didn't really seal coat a ton, and I never line striped well. In my first 3 weeks here, we basically got, highly encouraged by Pave America that we need to up those volumes. So they actually sent me with our seal coat crew, and we didn't have a striping crew this time, down to North Carolina to go visit Turner. And Turner is a very organized, methodical beast. They do everything themselves. They don't subcontract. They're very proficient at what they do, and it is a very organized manner they do things. Where I'm going with that is, I think in 2022 we did 41 or 42,000 gallons of sealer, and I think we only put down maybe $100,000 worth of paint. It's 2026 and we have 130,000 gallons of sealer and almost $1.8 million of striping sold. We didn't do those service lines full tilt when I came on, and now we don't subcontract anything. We are available to do those things because, if I want to call Mike Blaney in, from the East Coast to come teach us how to do a cord, if I want to go learn how to stabilize, go to the Finleys, or if I want to learn how to do certain aspects, we go down to Turner. And it's not, hey, we'll set this up in 6 weeks. We literally got a phone call from Wayne Turner. He's like, hey, be here tomorrow to Charlotte. That's a 9-hour drive. We were there the next day learning how to do those same service lines. Yep. And then from that point forward, we did not sub any seal coat or striping. We just do it all in-house now. We had one 3400 gray coat doing Lowe's parking lots, switching the colors every time we needed to. Now we have 8 striping machines, 2 full crews, and they're out every single day. Like, it's just a methodical beast. And when people have that negative connotation of P, we're just trying to pump your revenue. That's not the case. Like, they give us the tools to generate business, because in sales, I want all the tools to my belt, because at the end of the day, my livelihood and my family depends on what I can sell. And if you're telling me I can add another service line and help out, Lonnie be able to do a goal that he has, or Tyler, or Kyle, or Jeff, or Chris, because we all have to sell, it's appetizing, because we know, like, hey, we might not know how to do this, but somebody in our group probably does, and we're going to get the help and support to do it.
Yeah, well, and it goes even into, we talked about our niche, like the niche jobs that we have and what our bread and butter is, but like the ability to grow, right? Obviously we have goals to be better, to be bigger. And so we bid a concrete job that probably 2 years ago, we honestly probably wouldn't even have sniffed, or wanted to bid. Ripping out concrete all across a giant apartment complex and pouring it back and doing those types of things. We bid it because we're like, hey, let's take a shot at it. We ended up getting the project, but what we came to find out is it's 190 working days worth of concrete. Our concrete guys are already booked. All of the equipment, when you look out here, is out in the yard. What are we going to do? Well, we made that phone call, and Pave America is like, you need it, you've got it. And so as a sales and estimating guy, or even as a crew guy, when you're looking at that and you see the investment that they're making in you to make sure you have the tools that you need, it doesn't do anything but encourage you and make you want to keep going.
Right.
But they make you do your homework too, which is the nice part about Pave America. So whether you're talking, so Chris and Jeff are the ones who always talk to John Strankowski. But if we have an idea as sales reps, you better have a business plan behind it, customers in line, and people to sell this product to before Jeff or Chris will even listen to us to go call Pave America. Yeah. If we get all those ducks in a row, there's a good chance, and if we can prove it, we show we have customers that are willing to do it, even if we don't know how to do it, they're going to let us sell it.
Yeah. And I think all of this too, at the end of the day, it just provides a better experience for the customer, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. We constantly hear the feedback of how hard property management, facility management is getting, and we know in our market specifically, property management is a revolving door. Mm-hmm. You'll send a proposal to the property manager, and then the next week they're gone at someplace else, and so And I think a lot of that is just because of the straight volume and issues that they have to deal with on their side. And so when you got to go get work done, you're looking for the path of least resistance. So if I have a contractor like Cincinnati Asphalt who can do everything that I need, I don't have to get a striping subquo, I don't have to get a milling and paving and concrete guy. Like, I can just go to one company who does everything. Chances are, I mean, you're going to get the work, but also you're going to serve the customer better, and it's just easier for them to manage. And that's truly how you start building the relationship. So there's a lot of benefits to it. If there's enough demand for these different services that are coming up and these opportunities, as long as you guys have a good strategic plan put in place, why not go after it? You know, we've done a lot of the crazy stuff and have gone over after some things that were a little scary at times, but you figure it out, and then once you get through it, it's another tool in your tool belt, as Mike was saying. So
and 95% of what we do, guys, if you mess it up, you can fix it. Now, when concrete's set, let's be real here. But, you know, if you have a ponding area, or if you have, like, you know, a small miscellaneous detail, we can usually fix it without the customer really realizing we had to go make an adjustment. So, like, that's the beauty of our industry, is a lot of the things that we do are pretty practical and easy to solve if you really have a plan in place.
Yeah. Let's talk about something that's kind of underlying that is coming up in the near future. So I saw a stat, I don't quote me on it, but I think it was from like the American Builder Association, but by 2035, 41% of the construction workforce will be retired. And as we know, you know, I definitely was not pushed growing up to go into construction or the trades in general. You know, how do you guys see now with the technology that's available, with the blended teams? You got guys who are, you know, at the end of their careers versus guys that are younger and just getting started in their careers. How do you see the technology and, you know, the age gap of people in the construction workforce blending and working together? Or are you seeing resistance?
Go ahead. All right. So I would say I'll cover, like, let's do the workforce part, because I'm more operations based than Lonnie in some aspects, is that you always have to have a bench. So when we present things to certain kids, so like we have a lot of career centers by us. So there's a lot of individuals, you know, I wouldn't say they're the greatest students, you know, they kind of struggle to fit in, or whether or not they don't have a purpose yet for themselves in life. Well, when you can go to these career fairs, or you can introduce yourself to some of the kids that are 18, 19, 20, 21, let's just call them the younger men in the world. We don't sell them a job. We sell them a career when we're bringing them in to interview them. Because a lot of instances, you know, we're paying guys, you know, and I'm not sure if I say this, but, like, you know, 25 plus bucks an hour just to start with no experience. All right, so when you start looking at what a 40-hour work week looks like, plus the benefits that we give you, in those aspects, then you compare them what kind of debt you would go in if you were a poor student into college, and you start doing the math on where you can be ahead by the same 4 years if you dove into your career versus going to school. Now, we want anybody who wants to go obtain a degree. If that's what they would like to do, we're never going to push them away from that. But what I'm going to present to you is an option for you to start your life and develop a career outside of having to go into a massive hole of debt. And we've had a lot of success with that. Like, our average workforce, I would say, is in the mid-20s here. Mm-hmm. So we have a lot of younger guys, and we preach to them about the stability and the culture we have here. And if your kid has a baseball game, or if you have something you need to attend, we're not going to be like, hey, you have to be at work this day. We will work with you and give you a life so that you can manage your life, build a career, and also have something to hang your hat on at the end of the day. So we really pride ourselves on being there as a family, because we are truly driven by our crew here. A lot of companies really focus on the sales. We take care of our crews as a family here, and then it's almost an afterthought with some of the sales aspects. And like Lonnie can go into that, it's not truly an afterthought, but we really try to provide people with stability here. And we have guys from all walks of life, whether they've previously served. We have guys who have, you know, ex-battling drug and alcohol addictions. Myself is one of those people. So, like, literally going through all gamuts of life, we give people structure and constraints to provide lives that they deserve.
Yeah, I think even kind of piggybacking off of that in terms of the labor force. I mean, when I was I'm only 38, but when I was in high school, you know, if you went into the career centers or you were talking about going into the trades, you know, the diesel mechanics were always the one that was there because it was the predominant one at my high school. But you were kind of looked at as like the burnout, right? The loser, like you're going to be a diesel mechanic. But then, you've got kids like me who, okay, I was smart enough to maybe go to college, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I didn't want to do that because I didn't want to fall on the whole idea of, well, those guys, I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want to be a diesel mechanic. But then you look at those guys coming out of school prepared and being able to start a career like Mike is saying, that's a huge deal. And so I talk to young kids all the time. I've been to some of the job fairs and things like that. It's like, look, there's a misnomer out there that you are not successful if you're working in trades.
Yes.
I would actually argue that it's one of the most satisfying and gratifying things that you can do. I get to drive down, and I'm sure you guys do it too. I drive down the road and I'm telling my 4 boys and my wife, like, hey, we paved that. Hey, we did that. Hey, we did that. Mm-hmm. Because there's satisfaction in what you do. And at the end of the day, as a human being, that's what you're looking for, right? You want to be satisfied and happy with what you're doing and the products that you're putting down. And so I think that's a big, big deal for the younger generation now. And in terms of the age gap and the technology and things like that, there's definitely some blunders within some of that. You've got the older experienced guys that when we give them the iPads and we're like, hey, your work orders are on here now. I'm not printing off 60 stacks of paper and, everything you need. They kind of look at you like, what? Like, I've handwritten this for years, and how do I work this thing? Or, where do I find my pictures? What button am I supposed to click? But going back to kind of what he's saying with the majority of our workforce being younger, what we've seen is, because we've given them the opportunity at a career, because we've been willing to train them, because we've been willing to do some of those things, they feel invested in the company. And so even though, that's my boss and he may be struggling with an iPad, they're familiar with it. And so they're like, hey, let me show you how to do this, or let me show you how to do that. And it kind of gives you a natural bridge to say, okay, hey, down the road, this guy, because he's been able to pick this up, and this up, and he already has this piece, he might be a guy that we can lean on to maybe do another service line or to add another crew or to do those types of things. And so our approach over the last 3 to 4 years has really been just push training. That's the word I was looking for. But, and train people up and show them that you love them, show them that you care about them, and kind of to Mike's point. And eventually they're going to want to stay. Turnover for the first probably 8 years I was here, it was abysmal, man. It was tough. You were hiring guys in because you needed bodies, but you're like, you're not going to work out. Now you got to go, and now this person's got to go, and let's bring in another batch. And you were constantly flipping over. But what we've seen is we've made those changes and bridging the gap with some of the technology and those types of things has really, really given us a stable foundation out in the crew. Whereas each year, instead of finding 15 or 20 new people, you're just looking to add pieces, right? Hey, we want to add 2 or 3 people here or 2 or 3 people here and really just keep the ball going. And I think, again, there's got to be, there's all the career centers, there's things like that, even in the property management deal, and we can go into that if you want, but young kids today don't know anything about paving, right? I think there's more, you walk into a Target or a Walmart or wherever you get your toys at these days, and there's dumpster trucks and there's all these different things, and you might see a couple excavators, but you don't see any pavers out there, right? And you don't see those types of things, and kids aren't being inspired to do those types of things. And if you don't know about those opportunities, how do you find your workforce? And so I think that kind of goes back to the whole idea of the Pave America podcast, or the different things that we're doing about educating people and telling them, hey, you can be successful, right? I think I told somebody at PaveX one time, we were going to a vendor dinner, and he's like, I think we were going to Ruth Chris Steakhouse. And I made the comment to him one time. I was like, man, I never had a nice steak until I started playing in the dirt. And so, I followed that track. I went to school, and I was going to go to college, and I was going to go back to be a nurse, and I was going to go back and do that. But I didn't find my career until I got into construction. And I found one of the older guys that I could latch to that could teach me, and then got surrounded with even youthful people that could inspire you to keep going, to do better. And so I just think as a whole, that's where we are, and that's where we've kind of seen success in it. So.
And we give our guys, basically structured reviews too. So like if there's guys that are really implementing what we call, riding for the brand, we pull them aside and say, hey man, like, we're growing. Next year we have to grow another 10%. We have to grow a second steel coat crew. We have to grow a second mill crew. If you keep up the performance that you're at, we're going to switch you to an operator scale, and you're going to be running that crew next year. You get guys to buy in. On the same side of that, we are not scared to go into the field and call a guy out for not performing to our standards. And we do that as a group in front of everybody, so everyone understands that message isn't just to one person, it's the whole entire team. Because when you can get people bought into those pieces and really make them understand what they are liable for, our production's gone through the roof.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's awesome.
The production, the reporting, the data, all that jazz. Zach, what would you say? You've been in the game for probably longer than I've been alive, but he's not that old.
I think he just called you old, man.
I know. I'm 38 too, man. I'm about to be 39 next month. I'm like, holy smokes.
What have you seen the changes over the industry become?
Man, it's tough. So I grew up in the paving industry myself. My parents own a paving company, and so from very, very early ages, I'm crawling around on equipment and stuff like that. I think the workforce has shifted mindsets a little bit from where I was when I was younger, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. I think really what they're looking to do is be efficient. So if we can figure out those ways to help be efficient, I'm all for it. I'm not in for like cutting corners to any degree, but I want to if we can train people, and I think what we've had really good success is giving them the why. Hey, you have to do this because if you don't do this, then this doesn't happen. Again, it gives them purpose. And then the guys on the crew, if they feel purpose, they feel, effective and bought in. And then from there, it's just kind of a domino effect. And then go back to the team piece of it all. I think, we've got to continue to build awareness around our industry. I think, 10 years from now, pricing is going to continue to it's going to be a name your price type of game almost, because, there's just not going to be as many people, and even no matter what type of awareness we bring to our industry, it's just not the same as it was 20 years ago, same from, 10 years ago. And so you look at your pipeline of what workers are going to look like. I think we just got to stay at the forefront and continue to, talk to the kids and explain, my kids have kind of seen what this industry can do for you from a lifestyle standpoint. And everybody wants shiny things nowadays, it's chasing this and it's chasing that, and that's all great. You can have that in our industry. You don't have to, but you can. It's obtainable. It's all the direction you want to kind of go. And I think as long as people know what's available, I think that there's a ton out there. But the pipeline of what the workforce is going to look like is really going to be on how we want to promote it, in my opinion. But
I think I read a report somewhere too where they say a kid by the age of 7, as early as 7, has an idea of what they want to do or what they want to be when they grow up. And I look at my own kids in that regard. I've got a 10-year-old and a 9-year-old. And you can look at them and you can tell they are shaping what they want to do, and I can look at them and say, okay, you probably have a little bit of a sales role in your future. Or, you probably are more of a baker, I don't know, whatever it is.
Totally.
But I think that getting out in front of the kids is huge. And I think one way that we fix it, not just in our platform, but across the industry and multiple industries, is you get out in front of them. You do those things that if you're out reading books or you're doing the touch of trucks, or hey, come look at our shiny, big paver, and just introducing people to new things and get rid of the stigma that you can't achieve your dreams in that industry.
Right.
I think it's such a misnomer. It really is.
Yeah.
We both have boys too, so it's funny because everyone's oh, I work 40 hours a week. All of our friends outside this industry, and obviously we know we don't work 40 hours a week here, but there's no complaints about that because on Saturdays and Sundays when our guys are out working, you're going to see me or Lonnie. Lonnie might have 2 of his 4 boys. I'll have my son with me. We'll come out, block cones up, bring the guys stuff. Come talk to them, bring our families around. I'm we want you guys to know who we are when you're working with us. When we started developing those boundaries where a sales guy's oh, I'm not coming on a Saturday or I'm not going to a night job, it's not a cultural fit for us because we're all in here in those aspects too. So that's the one thing in our specific office is you can call us whenever, you can find us whenever, we will be there just as we ask our guys. Now, I will say one thing we differentiate in, we try not to work holiday weekends. It's our big thing that we give our guys a 3-day break. So upcoming, we got Memorial Day coming up. We're going to give our guys a little 3-day break. And, some people look at that sideways, but I'll tell you right now, on Tuesday, our production is going to be through the roof.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, you talked about the efficiency, right? And the worker wanting to be efficient. And I think that's a huge thing. I think you really saw that cultural shift in COVID where a lot of people were working from the office and they got a taste of, well, I don't have to be at the office 80 hours a week. I'm not wired that way personally. Like I don't obviously want to work 80 hours a week, but if my mind's not thinking of something, I'm going to go crazy. But I think the idea and the technology side of things has really helped dissipate some of that. Friday night I was out at a youth camp with a bunch of teenagers and my wife, and I had a bid that I had to send out to somebody that they didn't get. So I downloaded it as a PDF, but being able to do those types of things kind of on the fly. It took me 5 minutes to pull it up, to send it to them, and I'm right back out. It's not, hey, you're mobile enough to where you can be effective.
Yes.
And I think that's more true probably in our positions, but even in our crews, right? Like your superintendents and those types of guys where, in years past, you're driving around job site to job site. Well, you scatter 15 job sites across a day. That guy's not done till 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. Now he doesn't have to do some of that because he's able to use the technology to look at, okay, hey, here's what's going on this job or this job, and then phone call solves it. And so that person's home earlier. And because he was able to instruct things faster, the crews are home earlier. We try to wrap our days up. We're here before the sun's up, but we try to get our guys out before the sun's down.
Yeah.
And that adds to some of that morale boost too, where it's like, because I've been there, right? And Zach, I'm sure if you've been in around it long enough, you've seen you're out there paving 9:30, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, midnight, whatever it takes to get the job done, especially as you grow a company. That's a good way to lose people. And because you're more efficient and you're able to do things based off of what Pave America gives us, it's really helped us retain people.
Yeah. And then in that same instance, like everyone in our office is married. We all have kids. Like the thing that's a little bit different about us too in aspects is like Jeff and Chris know like when we have our anniversaries or when our birthdays are, or whether we have something coming up. And like we'll literally be on a job, maybe stressed knowing something's coming up and it's 3 o'clock and they're like, hey, you get out of here. We know you have a special night tonight with your wife. We got this from here. And just having that family camaraderie, or Lonnie has a huge job going over by my house. I live 45 minutes office east. He lives 45 minutes office west. We live an hour and a half apart from each other. Well, his job is 10 minutes from my house. Hey man, it's Sunday. I'll go block that off. It's going to take me 15 minutes. Stay home with your family. Like, we are all about our family and home lives here too, and able to interchange those pieces. And that goes for our crews too. If one of our guys in the crew has a kid's soccer game, they need to be off by 3, like we'll grab them and bring them back to the office. Go get to your game, man. Like, we understand that you have a family. Like, there's times where we can't make it always work, but we're able to jump in with each other. That creates like a different kind of bond.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Yeah, builds loyalty across the company and within, especially down to the field level, which has historically been, or notoriously been, kind of separated from the quote-unquote office. So it just brings the entire company together doing the small stuff like that.
For sure.
Well, I mean, this has been great. I know you guys got to get back to what you guys do best, which is laying asphalt and concrete and selling some things. So we appreciate the time. Cincinnati Asphalt, you guys are an amazing company. We definitely look up to you guys and glad to be part of the same team. And obviously I've heard about you guys' growth too through some of these calls. So congratulations on that. And
Thank you.
Thank you.
Keep the hammer down. I know that would never change what you guys are doing. So
We appreciate it. And thank you guys for your time today too.
Absolutely, guys.
Our pleasure.
Awesome.
Well,
We got a random question for you because you can edit this. You think it went all right, or?
I think it went great. We're not going to edit that. We're going to keep that in.
You guys did well. Yeah.
So give me like 10 seconds. I'm going to do a little wrap, a conclusion. So that was the Paving America podcast with Mike Johns and Lonnie Banks of Cincinnati Asphalt. We'll see you guys next time.